Hey, this is Parker Madness. I'm Matt. I'm joined by Ben and Aaron. What's up, Ben?
Hey.
After a week off.
Hi.
Thanks, Bert.
So the show, there's a song called this is totally off the cuff, and I didn't say it before pre-show, but there's a song called "In the Still of the Night" that Cole Porter sings. But I'm going to change the lyrics right now. In the past of the night, as I gaze through my window, and the fine saucer and its light taking me to where.
Matt, can you put some classy reverb on that in post?
Yeah. I'm gonna have like random things because it's black. I'm just gonna make a little music video, I think.
Ben, you dazzled me. I've got stars in my eyes.
Amazing. So damn, I missed you, Ben. It's such a different show when you're back on. Last time we did a show with
Matt number 2.
Matt number 2, Matt Hurt from the Obsessive Viewer podcast, to do a show on Blast from the Past. And this week, as Ben alluded to, we're going to do The Vast of Night, which was recommended by our guest this week, Colin Orr.
That was your recommendation.
Hey, what's going on, boys? What's going on?
You're back.
He is.
It's been a while.
I like your cock.
Got the cock behind me, you know. Gotta represent.
The audio for the podcast, for the people only listening and not seeing the background. Colin just has a giant picture of a penis behind him.
Oh,
big old rooster.
That puts everything in perspective.
It's massive.
It's a handsome cock.
Its name is Cockburn.
No, but Colin, you recommended Vast of Night.
That cock is not kosher.
How long ago did you watch?
That cock needs to be circumcised. Look at the little gobbler on there. Oh.
You want to just riff for a minute? For like
let's give him like 2 minutes.
Get them all out. Get them all out.
And go.
Colin, when did you watch this movie, and what kind of brought it as a recommendation for us to do for this show?
Well, for the most part, I mean, I only heard of it because of Red Letter Media. They mentioned it, they talked about it, and I wanted to give it a shot. Also, Amazon Studios does a really great job with picking the movies that they want to represent and do and throw money at. Mm-hmm. And this is one of probably the best kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes you find a movie that has a little bit of magic that just comes together in it. And this is one of those films because it's the writer, director, editor, and it's his first movie that he has out.
For his first movie, it's pretty good.
Yeah, for a first one just coming out, it's really, really great. Having kind of unknown actors. The girl technically was in a lot more stuff when she was younger, maybe Sierra a decade ago.
Yep. Was she Disney Channel or something?
I'm not really sure about Disney, but she does do a lot of. She was a kid actor, and then, you know, she's growing up a little bit, so a lot of people want to recognize her right away.
Like,
and
what was the Disney Channel show she was on? It was like That's So Roswell or something.
I was trying to think of one just now. Yours is so good.
That's so conspiracy.
That's great.
But yeah, I mean, like, so the movie, just
UFO the musical.
Yeah, just I was gonna say when you were singing, when you said the ship, I was gonna be like, spoiler. but you know,
ship in the sky.
So
But that's-
There's where the budget went right there. Spoilers.
we'll dig into
Spoilers.
it. We'll dig into it a little bit. So this is a movie that initially was made. So the director, writer, editor that Colin was referencing, his name's Andrew Patterson. The screenplay actually has two names associated with it: Craig Sanger and James Montague. I think I read on Wikipedia that those are both just pseudonyms he used. It was basically Andrew Patterson wrote this, but
They're
he
both
put
him?
those two names there. Yeah.
Did he just do that
this
to make it sound better?
I don't know. I don't know what the motivation was, other than it was kind of I wonder if because it was this movie initially premiered in 2019 at like a small festival and it kept getting rejected. So I wonder if the fact that you go to
festivals,
a lot of festivals, yeah, and then this once, that's why at the end of it says Slam Dance Film Festival on it, is because
how did it get rejected?
Yeah,
There's so much
film
garbage
festivals
out there.
accept so
I don't
much
know.
garbage, and they would pass this one up.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me wonder if, like, when you submit something, you see like the same person's name 100 times, and like before you even watch it, it's like, oh, it's this small indie thing. We're just gonna flat out reject
Matt,
it based off.
I
the
have
log
had
line or
things that
something.
I made play at film festivals. There is no excuse.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing more than anything. But the movie eventually came out this year on kind of wide release, which Amazon picked it up and produced it. So I think it's kind of technically a 2020 wide release.
Well, they say May 29th is its official release.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 2020 film.
Yeah.
Technically.
So we're going with the new fish type of not that there are that many movie releases.
I guess
year,
this one
but,
took a while to get to the market because I think I read that it was filmed in 2016.
Yeah.
Shut up, you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be informative here.
Let me just for those that haven't seen it, and this is kind of kick off the spoilers, I guess, because we'll get into it. But just to read the
Aliens.
Whoa, what was that?
Ooh, they're
yeah,
coming.
that's pretty much it. The Google plot summary, which last week was like a whole paragraph, this week is just: in the 1950s, two children search for the source of a mysterious frequency that has descended on their town.
And Jeff
And-
Goldblum tags along.
Children. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get a read on what age they were.
Yeah.
They seemed like 17, 18.
I think at
Yeah.
one point they said she was 16, did they? Well, so where do you guys want to start with this? I struggled a little bit with kind of like it has a plot to it, but
No, it
not
doesn't.
Really, it's not like a normal structure. So,
No, and I'm not saying that as a disparaging comment. There's no plot. It's just this happens. And sometimes that's refreshing to just be a stream of consciousness sort of thing. And maybe that's not the right way to put it. But it is it's just like and then this happened sort of a
Okay,
thing.
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
I'm taking over here, Matt. I'm going to ask each one of you, one by one. Start with
He kind of
Colin
did that
first.
because of
I'm talking.
He has
I
the
don't
conch.
dare you talk
I
to me.
think Colin's frozen. It's pretty funny
frozen?
if you look at his picture.
Let
yeah.
it go, Colin. Let it go.
All right, Ben.
Okay.
What did you want to ask everybody?
All right, cut here. Everybody back to their positions. All right. So I think this would be a good way of discussing this is have each individual think of what they thought of the whole movie as a whole, one by one. All right, and then we can discuss all together. Because this is the kind of movie I think where we can, you tell me what you thought about it. Just go. Nobody interrupts you down the line. And then, we can get going. So let's ask Colin first. Obviously, Colin really liked this. Colin, tell me this movie, like the summary, what you loved about it, what if you hate anything about it, just your whole opinion about this whole movie.
Okay. I would say I'm blown away technically by how they shot this, the way that the long takes really showcase the small town feel, also allows you to have time to put yourself in the situation with whatever's going on. There's certain things I want to point to in different scenes, and I think we'll get there later, but there are certain things that happen technically that kind of, in a way, are really ingenious to put us back in that era, back in that time period, and utilizing the things that we can use nowadays, like putting somebody on a four-wheeler, where I heard the camera guy was strapped in like he's Superman. And like holding the camera as they're driving.
Let's we can all talk about.
I believe you said something about not interrupting.
I know, but
talking about our overall opinions first.
Yeah, but I'm forming it. But that part, let's talk about real quick, and then Colin, you can continue. I mean, how ingenious that. What's nice about it is it took a lot of effort, filmmaking wise. This is a really well done film. A lot of effort. Because you think about that shot, it goes from one side of the town to the other side. Everything has to work smoothly. Someone had to mess with the aperture and the ISO, everything in the camera. I don't know how they program it to change it from the lighting, or they just lit. It was just
probably a lot of rehearsing.
Everything was lower lit. You mean inside? I don't know how they did that.
Well, they had cuts too. I think there's a cut right before they go into the gymnasium. I think there's actually like a layer in there.
That was where it was. Yeah,
I would suspect that some of those.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, and that's what's so good.
It was really subtle. It
wasn't like Alfred Hitchcock's Rope.
It was almost like they got to the point and then they kind of I was going to ask you guys what you thought, because I felt like that was where the cut was too.
If I had to guess,
they composited them into each other.
There's several cuts, I think, because I think the girl working at the telephone operator station outside, I think there is a cut from outside, and then the movement all the way to the gymnasium. Then from the gymnasium, I think there's a cut because it goes upstairs to a window. Then I think there's a crane shot from the window down to a four-wheeler again, and that's another cut. And I think they have all these cuts, but they lined it up so perfectly that it's so smooth. And how they composited it.
They did a good job.
So scene,
they may not have cut. I don't know.
Yeah.
You never.
You can't go through a window without cutting. It goes through the gymnasium window.
Yeah, but
at the end,
they could. Yeah, but they could have put it on a like 1917. They had a rig where they had like a wire rig, and they were carrying it on a.
Anything's possible, but I don't buy it on this one.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have the budget as that. But all right, so
I think
continue. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just to wrap, because I think the shot, what we're talking about, is kind of the I don't know, it's the like wow piece for the whole movie, or at least I thought it was, that it kind of
for visual purposes. I think for visual purposes that's really a good one.
And it shows the attention to detail of like getting all of the, we're not just on sets, we're going through an entire town, we're showing this entire, like, it's not just the context is small town. We're going to show it to you.
It gives you the layout and everything. Like what was nice about it is they set it up. They're walking towards the radio or towards the switchboards, and then they show you the path they took. Continue, Colin. What's your overall thoughts?
Well, I also wouldn't mind talking, since we talked about that scene, I wouldn't mind talking about the radio scene with Billy, who is the first person that calls in about the sound.
Yeah, he was great. That actor.
Yeah, and
this is his voice, but he was great.
And visually, they kept
Bruce Davis was the actor.
They kept on going down to black, so you're part of the radio. You had to listen to it like they were listening to it on the radio, and then they did all those close-ups of the DJ guy and him just speaking in the mic, and there's one of the first takes of Billy on the radio is it goes to black for a very long period of time, and it's kind of amazing for a movie to do that.
It is, but I'm thinking there's two things that could have happened there. I think it was a creative choice, or it was a creative choice because of, oh man, we fucked this scene up so bad. We messed this scene up so bad. Bleep me, Matt. So we can get kids to watch this. We messed this scene up so bad that we had to do a creative choice. You know, like we couldn't like maybe they were going to film.
It's called Falling with Style.
I mean, I don't know. I think it was absolutely a choice to do it that way because they did it a handful of other times throughout where they didn't really need to. And I think the overall kind of where we could have started was the whole like surrounding package to this whole thing is that this is almost like a contained episode of something called, what was it?
Paradox. A Paradox.
It's like Twilight
Paradox
Zone.
Theater.
Paradox Theater.
Well, they had the Rod Sterling intimidating.
Right.
He actually did a really good job.
So everything was kind of like within this, you know, we start off with a Rod Sterling like introduction to a TV show, and we go into the TV show, and a lot of times they're cutting to like when you're framed in this, 1950s TV set, and then you have those moments where it cuts to black, or you can see the static lines or whatever. And I was going to ask you guys what you thought of that whole like those trappings that they put around it, but then also how it ties into that kind of long speech, because the whole movie is basically Faye and Billy, trying to track down what the meaning of this sound is, and they get little clues to talking with either someone on the radio we're just talking about or somebody in town. And I felt like the best kind of character, or not even character moment, but story moment to like kind of give like some intention of what all of this plotless story was about was the kind of long speech by the old lady. She was talking about what it means, but
speech.
I don't know. Aaron, what did you think of the whole Twilight Zone, like I guess the editing creative choices they went with?
It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing. It's expected when you do anything 1950s at this point. I don't mind it, but I appreciate it.
What do you mean by that? Expected in 1950s?
Well,
explain yourself, sir.
If you let me continue, I might actually get it out.
Oh.
It serves to...
You sure you want me back on the show?
I think I can just let you say what I was thinking since you know so well.
Oh, sorry. Cringe.
It serves
start doing the chanting, Aaron, and then maybe we'll just start.
So go on.
I was ceiling.
I was listening to it, but go on.
It serves to set the place very well. It reminds you constantly what year this is, and I don't hate it, but I enjoy when movies don't do it. Like it should be enough. The set dressing and the costumes and the demeanor of the actors should be enough. But
well,
So you mean they're overly shooting it?
No, I'm nitpicking. I think it makes more sense for this movie to do all the TV fuzz and all that, because it's talking about radio signals all the time.
Okay, that.
Gotcha. Framing it through the TV with the radio stuff, normally I'm like, okay, we get it, it's 1950s. But here it makes sense because the whole thing revolves around radio signals.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna read what I wrote down, the entire thing, and maybe I'll cut to if it's on YouTube or something. But just because I felt I had a take, and I'm curious what you guys think, because I feel like it almost has this meta quality, and I couldn't quite pinpoint. I don't think it ultimately is trying to make a really specific point. I think this is a movie that's very much like, up for interpretation. There's a lot of different, it's very kind of take from this what you will. But so the speech with the old lady, and we've just discovered that there's this like bizarre alignment or coincidence rather between like what this guy called in and this military plan and secret experiments and UFOs and this idea of this sound coming out, and then hey, now there's the sound is back, and this old lady has a recording of it from this elaborate, kind of passing along of our archival, recordings or whatever. So they go to talk to her, and she goes on about for a long time in this one take. It's just on her face. She basically just says,
believe they're up there tonight, right now. And I think there are some reasons to support that idea.
Like what?
I think they stay away from big cities. I think they wait for people to get together in one place like tonight. And when everyone gets out of that game, they're going to be gone. I think they like people alone. And I think they talk to people with some kind of advanced radio in their sleep.
All right, like you think they did with your son.
I didn't just think this up. I think at the lowest level, they send people on errands. They play with people's minds. They sway people to do things and think certain ways so that we stay in conflict, focused on ourselves. So that we're always cleaning house or losing weight or dressing up for other people. I think they get inside our heads and make us do destructive things like drink and overeat. I've seen good people go bad and smart people go mad. I think at the highest level, they do things that cause nations to go to war. Things that make no sense. And I think no one knows they're being affected. We all work out other reasons to justify our actions. But free will is impossible with them up there.
like, I mean, there's a lot to chew on.
Hey, Matt, here's what I think. I think the way you're framed right now, if you turn this way, it looks like you're talking into that mic on your screen. Try it. Do it. See if you can do it. Do it, please. There you go. There you go. There's great.
You have to make sounds into a microphone, you
You gotta make
dingus.
sounds. Say something. Say I'm listening. You know.
Say
not
that
doing
you've
it. I'm
never
not
or will you ever be a part of the Communist Party?
I mean, look at that. It's just comedic gold. It's like a.
I guess I'll just throw this out to the group because we have 3 minutes before.
I mean, it's very much like what is happening right now. I agree with you. Like the first time I heard the speech, I was like, oh, that's very much like trying to tell us maybe this is the perspective of some people of what's happening to this world right now.
You think so?
Well,
huh?
I see. So are you saying that it's like the government
it's the start of a conspiracy theorist. Like in the way when you're listening to her story, you don't know if she is telling the truth or not, and also is she crazy because they had Billy. You don't even know if you can believe Billy's story, and that's crazy because it's like you don't know who to believe in this story.
I believe them.
Yeah, man.
I believe.
but
yeah,
I had like I don't know. I started to take kind of a meta take on because of how much they focused on all these moments of radio, and they pulled us out to the TV, and it's very specific 1950s, and I feel like those were all intentional choices to talk about. And this is just my interpretation. I don't know if this is right or even what they were like what the intent was, but I felt like it was all kind of about how TV and mass, reaching people at this mass media level can lead to those things, and like advertising and all. Like, I felt like just what we infer from this static or whatever, and like just what comes over airwaves or TV leads to all of that behavior and stuff that you was
5G
about.
Baby 5G.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's how I interpreted it.
So do we need to give the mothership a cold or?
Yeah.
Ben, you initially asked us what our overall opinion was. What was your overall opinion of the movie?
I'll say this. I think we kind of, I mean, it's just a little rough, but I think that how I want, it's not how I wanted it to go, but we got the general idea. But my overall opinion is this, and it may not be a good opinion for the group, but I'll say it anyways. I thought as a filmmaking, it was really good. Did a lot with a little. I mean, and a lot of people's complaints about the color correction. I actually liked the color correction. Like that's one of the things I liked. It felt very, very vintage. I kind of liked that. It was a little bit, the blacks weren't quite black, and it was a little faded, and I kind of liked that. It reminded me of it felt more like the era. So as a filmmaking prowess, I think it's really good. There was a few, I don't know if you caught at the very beginning that when he goes up to the scores table and there's that wide shot, and the cameraman was not on the same, whoever's operating the glide cam was not on the same cue as the main actor, because at one point it jerks like this, like, oh, this is his cue to go. You know what I mean? But he was still talking, so he didn't know when the guy was going to go. So then he got done. There's a couple false alarms, like, oh, he's leaving. Nope. So those are little flaws, which if I was making that would bother me. That one little thing would bother me. I'd be
oh no, I get you.
That one little thing, but overall, it was amazing. It was amazing. So they did a lot with little, the special effect at the end. It looked like they used a real model. It looked beautiful. So it looked real. It looked better than anything I've seen. It looked real. It had a Close Encounters vibe to it. So there's a lot of good things in it. I do think the script was terrible. I don't think it was terrible. I think it was just like, it didn't lend itself to filmmaking, in my opinion. And like you said, they talked about a lot of different things. I didn't like the script. I thought it was boring. I don't like they did the rule of show don't, or tell don't show. You should show more. And I get it. They want the mystery and the storytelling, and I guess it works for this. But to me, to me, preferably, my type of filmmaking, if I were to make movies, would be strictly visuals and less dialogue. And that's just me. Now, Quentin Tarantino disagrees with me, and he makes good stuff. You know what I mean? And this is a good movie. It's just not my cup of tea. And that's my only biggest complaint is like, the script's not that good. It's not a terrible script. The script is not that good.
What do you guys, Aaron, Colin, what do you think about kind of what Ben said? Because I there's a lot that I actually agree with Ben on here, but I'm curious what you guys think.
Hey, Colin, why don't you go first? I'm still baking my bread on this one.
I mean, I like it.
And that's a good. I mean, and then nothing wrong with liking it.
I mean, the old lady, that scene I felt like was dragged out more. I felt like what Matt said was the better condensed version of what she said, and she could have done it a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. The one scene I did like, Colin, and I'll point this out to you, is the long shot of her on the wire. She did a really good job. That was intense when she's figuring out what's going on with the thing. That was a hard thing to do with the one long take of her going in and finding the static. That was good. That was good. But go on.
I didn't mind the dialogue. I felt like it added to the character of what was trying to be told, like setting us in the setting,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get us into the moment with them. It seemed natural. It didn't make the lead actors seem stale at all or unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I actually believed that they were back in that era.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like, when I saw the girl doing the phone switching and stuff, like, she might have been just pushing random buttons, but I don't know. Like
That
it
was a
kind of
good
looked
scene.
like she knew exactly what she was doing. I'm
Did you
wondering
see
how
them
many
button
takes
pushes?
that took.
I think that's a great scene. I think that was a good use of it. To me, that was a good use, and to me, why that scene worked, Colin, to me, and this is all opinion. This is all preference. This is like, I like Frosted Flakes. Some people like Honey Nut Cheerios.
Both
sugary
good, actually.
But but I agree. And I think why that one worked for me is because there was some sense of action and some mystery going on. It wasn't a monologue, but even the old lady's monologue was really good. I mean, like it worked. It just preferably, it was a good movie, but preferably for me, I just didn't like the script.
Aaron,
That was my only thing.
what about you, Aaron?
Well, I think I'm a combination of all three of you. I noticed that it was a very monologue-y movie with a lot of tell, don't show, but I would normally hate that. But in this case, I think it works to the movie's strengths because it explains in the movie about the isolation and all that. And the way that it's framed in this movie, it shows you that isolation where you're a person, there's nobody around, you know nothing, and you're just trying to piece this together. And I think that works to the movie's strength. I don't think that I think it's good dialogue, but a bad script, if that makes sense. Can I say the first 15 minutes of this movie, that guy, the main guy, what was his name?
I couldn't understand him.
Billy.
Yeah, he talks a mile a minute.
Is his name
Or
Billy?
Everett. Everett, not Billy.
Everett,
Sorry.
Everett,
Billy
Everett.
was the radio guy. Everett.
Yeah.
He
Billy,
never
no.
stopped talking. I was like, this guy must have sunburn on his tongue or something. He never stops talking.
Well, he had like a cigarette in his mouth.
I understood him fine. It's just he was a mile a minute, and for the first 15 minutes, I was annoyed with him. Can we just have one scene where there's not motor mouth? But it got better. It got better.
But Colin, I do agree with you that it did felt real. They were very
absolutely
real.
did.
It wasn't. They felt like real people.
I never doubted him for a second.
The old lady was a little bit the one I doubted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
She did a good job.
and maybe in a sense that was supposed to be, because at the moment she was like, "Take me with you," kind of
Yeah.
thing. I loved Everett's face of like, "Fuck." This
Yeah.
was sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but
You're fine.
This
I
was
cussed
this was
earlier.
just a very sad lady who possibly might have made a story up, or are we supposed to believe her? She even said, "Come to my house," like all this kind of stuff, and it was a little bit like, I want to believe her, but is she just adding to a conspiracy?
Paranoia.
Yeah, and paranoia, until he plays back that audio of her chanting, and then the
In the car,
drivers, the driver and the
Yeah.
passenger just had their heads go up and stuff, and that was
Mhm.
pretty crazy.
I had a little more on a
But the
technical
strongest
level.
performance was that that one guy. Like I thought he felt like a real guy calling in.
Yeah,
the way he delivers lines. like-
absolutely.
and that was like, so there's things that were well written. Like some of the dialogue was well written. Like that, like him explaining it. Maybe it's because I was black. Maybe it was because like all these little things like that felt really real. That was real. But the dialogue felt real. It was It felt like real people would talk to each other. I think I didn't like the structure of the story. You know what I mean? I just think that's the only thing I didn't like. You know what I mean? But that's not to say it didn't work. It's just this is something I like. I wish was. It just I don't know. It's different it's a different style movie for me, but it still worked. I think it gets you inspired to make filmmaking. You know what I mean? It makes you inspired to. I want to do something like that. You know what I mean too. So I think it was a good movie, Colin. So don't take I'm pooping on it. You know I'm not. I think it was good.
I don't. You think I think something negative, but I don't.
No,
I'm just giving my
I'm just-
opinion. Also,
No,
It's
I'm just,
like-
I'm just being overly empathetic.
Nitpicking
'cause
is
I'm
what we
empathetic.
do here.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm-
everything is fine. I
Everything
can
is fine.
I can agree with you that it's very dialogue heavy. It doesn't work all the time, but I think for this movie, it works.
Yeah.
To its benefit, like we were saying that we're trying to believe these characters. It's supposed to be kind of more natural and
It's
yeah.
more
For-
storytelling.
For me, I think, it has that It's by choice, and I think for one, my biggest takeaway from this is almost less about the movie itself and more about the like promise of this Andrew Patterson guy. As a director.
Have you seen a picture of him?
Writer?
Have you seen a picture of him?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, his beard and hair is wild,
I'll have to
and
pull it up.
I wish I had that beard, baby.
But like from a script writing or from a writing perspective, it has that like Aaron Sorkin like just it never stops, and it's just everything is perfectly choreographed. Like it's like a dance almost, where every line is like ping ponging off the next thing, and it just like kind of keeps just spiraling.
Did he write this by himself?
Well, he wrote it with himself.
I think that's what it said. I don't know.
Yeah, and then but it has another writer connected to it, and if you're saying, Matt, like what you were saying, that's just another thing for him. I don't know, because it literally says director, writer, producer, editor.
It
and
says,
I'm like, oh, okay.
You could say he was beside himself while he wrote it.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I was wrong. Patterson wrote the script with Craig Sanger, although he registered the script with the WGA under the pseudonym James Montague, who is also listed as the producer. So I was wrong. He did co-write it with a real person. He didn't.
Okay, but
it wasn't both people.
The co-writer, this is his first film too. I checked on that. So it's his first film too.
That was going to be my other comment, was that, from a writing perspective and how they, went about the movie, I agree that there are some moments where it feels like some show would have helped, but it just feels like a low budget movie to me. Like it feels like those are the constraints of not having a giant budget, that we're not going to go off and shoot everything, or like they shot it very quickly. Not to say that it looks bad or everything else is bad, but they brought it into like a small scale, which I think worked. It worked on one level.
I still think they made it felt bigger than what it really was too, though, Matt. I do.
Yeah, when you said small budget, I didn't even realize they had a small budget.
$700,000.
$100,000.
$700,000.
It's a cheap movie.
Wow, that is a really cheap movie.
700,000.
That is what I read.
Wow,
I mean, it's a cheap movie. That's a lot.
That is a cheap movie.
Yeah. Well, makes sense for what we saw, is that there aren't. I mean, it's edited really well, and they have that awesome tracking shot, and then they have the models at the end. But otherwise, it's just get the set, and I mean, it's
still
all
having all the
dialogue.
period piece, the
the costumes,
man, that's pretty amazing.
The cars,
sure,
the horn-rimmed glasses,
the soundboard.
They probably just got a bunch of people that were enthusiasts about old cars. And
those soundboards were actual period working soundboards, and they still functioned.
And then also the caller. What do they call those? The operator board, whatever it's called. That was functioning. I mean, like maybe it wasn't functioning. Maybe there is some After Effects or something in there.
No, it was functioning. I just said that, Phil.
I think the soundboard was. I'm talking about the phone lines. Yeah,
that's a board.
Oh, well, I was thinking about the radio studio.
I'm sure that was probably the same case.
Anyway, so that's crazy.
Either way, just I felt like the you weren't going all over to a bunch of different locations. You're not. I mean, while it looks really nice, as we said, I can see why it wasn't. When it's like, oh, we're not going to go show the military lab and the experiment base and the UFO. They like those types of like decisions add to a budget. So instead, they focus on the conversation. And what I really liked is that, it's within the trappings of, again, this Paradox Theater TV show, that then the whole movie is just people talking to each other, which is kind of an interesting decision. I don't know if it's
a campfire story,
good or bad, but yeah, it's interesting at least.
On a technical level, I really appreciated the camera work, but also Ben brought up the color correction before. It was not a fun time for me, because look, I get that what they would do it that way for a specific purpose to make it look old and washed out, but I need those black levels, man. Black levels matter. I need to be able to see them details. I couldn't make anything out.
Black levels matter.
And that doesn't help when you're watching it streaming And that sort of picture doesn't take well to like compression. I can hardly make anything out half the time.
Yeah.
But it's just a metaphor for them not being able to see what was going on in the movie, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, I guess for you guys, and there isn't a whole lot of kind of, I think we've touched on a few of the specific scenes, but the rest of it really does feel like, I guess aside from the payoff at the very end with the spaceships and the UFO, but the rest of the movie is kind of just like realistic dialogue of people going through this experience and running through the town. And that takes up a lot of time because a lot of time it's almost in real time. It almost feels like the whole movie is contained within real time.
Do you know what kind of reminds me of a little bit, now that I think about it, just a little bit, is American Graffiti. Reminds me
yeah, it does. Yeah, bit. You're right.
Mm-hmm. All one night, you know what I mean? A little slice of, similar time periods.
Americana type.
Yeah. That's what kind of reminds me of. I mean, there's a radio station there too. So, yeah, interesting.
I liked it overall. I
did too.
It was I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, but it was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was good.
Colin, is there anything we haven't touched on yet that kind of stood out for you when you kind of initially watched it?
Oh, I wanted to see your guys' opinion of seeing the audio waves when they came up for the music, whenever they did like certain cuts of listening to the ships through the radio or something like that. They would cut sort of, and you would see fragments on the side of the audio waves coming up.
Maybe I missed that.
I missed that too. Know. I don't think I saw it.
That part kind of gave me just connections to like Close Encounters. I know we kind of mentioned that. It's just really neat how I don't know, audio played such a big impact in this, and I wanted to hear what Aaron thought about all the how they were doing the audio aspect of all this.
Well, specifically what? Just the waves on the sides? Because I missed
just like bringing kind of like I liked how it started out where the girl was like, "Hey, can you help me with the radio?"
Yeah, it started so innocent.
Or my recorder. Yeah. And then like in real time, they're actually doing the recorder, and she does. She works for the phone call, having to do audio there, just switching boards. She turns on the radio, that old school kind of sounding from the radio. Mm-hmm. Also, we're hearing different audio situations where when Billy was talking, I noticed that when they went to dark or whatever, and they got out of the radio studio, you heard Everett on the radio compared to being on camera audio.
Yeah. Some of that was actually pretty complicated, and you don't necessarily catch all of it. I might need to watch it again for that.
Yeah,
just those parts were kind of cool for me because it was just like a lot of and it amazes me how technology has advanced so much to the point where those simple little things that were happening that took him a long time, like him trying to get the music off of the radio and getting him back on live. He had to do a bunch of stuff to switch it, and he's doing it really quick. And yeah.
Now let's not sell ourselves short. Even then, they were all so well interconnected that someone could be on the phone, and then she's off at the switchboard, and they're all talking to each other at the same time, and he's recording it. So it was less. You could do less, but it was still pretty advanced even then. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for the most part, I don't know, like. I just really enjoyed all the little finer things. I've seen it a couple times now. My family wanted to watch it, so I watched it with them. That's the one thing I do like about this film is that it can be for an audience of a lot of different groups can connect with this. And it's not just like, oh, if you want an action-packed movie or if you want a drama or romance comedy, like the thing about this movie was I could go tell little kids, hey, you want to watch this movie, or I could tell adults, hey, you want to go watch this movie.
Yeah.
And so it's that was I don't know, like, yeah.
Yeah, I do, as you were kind of talking about the audio and the connections and stuff, I'm kind of honing in on at least what I think, and it kind of dovetails with what I was talking about earlier with that
Dovetails. Woo.
the like kind of interpretation about media and stuff that I was kind of alluding to, that potentially this idea of paradox theater, the idea of specifically using the word paradox, I don't think is like just because it's adjacent to Twilight Zone. I think that was on purpose. And I was trying to figure, I was going to ask you guys what you thought it means. For me, I think I'm coming around to the idea that this movie is basically saying that modern technology, for the sake of like mass media, radio and TV or whatever, that came about right around this time of the 1900s, is like a double-edged sword. That it for what I was talking about before, kind of has this like sinister side, that it's kind of like trapping people, and it causes us to do these terrible things or worse things and make worse versions of ourselves. Or on the flip side, to what you were talking about, Colin, this movie spends so much time showing the like manual effort of what it takes to literally connect people. Like, I'm going to take this switchboard of somebody who wants to connect with another human being, and I'm going to show that over and over and over. And what that leads to is like this personal connection in this small town. And so there's like, I feel like
I kept on thinking when she was running around, it's like, that town is fucking screwed. I did it again. That town is screwed because nobody's going to get their phone connected because she is away from the board.
Yeah. So
somebody's not getting
and then
paid.
To the idea of the radio too. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's ultimately where I'm landing on, is the maybe a message, but I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Or I guess if you have another interpretation of paradox,
the big standpoint, when you read the old lady's quote from the movie, that very much was the part that was kind of, let me tell you what I believe the meaning of this movie is going to be. That's sort of where I'm like, okay, you put it into her mouth, you could either say it's true or not, because she's the one that you're questioning if she's telling the truth or not.
Stanley Kubrick's like just rolling in his grave. No, you never do that. You never have somebody just say it out loud.
You plant the seed and let people make up their own mind.
Which I think this movie did to a degree. It just kind of goes over the top at that point. But even then, I don't know if that's what it means. I don't know.
This is one of the few times where they do a Rick Moranis. Everybody got that, and I didn't really get angry at it. I was just like, yeah, that's what they're trying to say. So I guess credit where it's due. It didn't annoy me.
Anything else, or do we want to go ahead and rate this movie?
I'm ready to rate.
Model was really good at the end.
Yes.
I mean, actually, I really did. It's not even a joke. Like, that
I wouldn't mind talking about that for a minute. Yeah, let's do that.
I actually thought the better execution was the like kind of two that were just hovering, the small ones hovering in the behind the tree.
There were two of them hovering?
Well, there was the one that they saw at a distance, and then one kind of came overhead and cast the shadow down, and you saw the bottom of it, right?
Big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm.
Oh, was that the big one? Okay.
That's
well, there was no. I agree with you. It was kind of cool because the one that they saw, it kind of seemed like it didn't notice them, and they were seeing in that was.
Oh, it was just creeping on them or something too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. And then it goes to the big one, but the shot at the end was very good. The compositing, and it definitely looked like a model to me, but it looked real. It looked more real than, I mean, even though this is a low budget movie, it looked better than most things I've seen, you know, with all the CGI in the world.
Yeah, did you
It could
guys
not- it
find
may
anything
not-
on that?
It may have been fake. It may have been CGI, but like,
I don't know. I couldn't find any information on it.
let me see here.
I don't know.
Model. Yeah.
But
Spaceship.
the ship, the look of it, the subtleness with the, I don't know. This might be just me reading in on it, but when they had the shot of the old lady talking about her story, there was a lot of blue, in
From
that
the TV,
part
yeah.
where they were trying to connect that, and the smaller ships gave off kind of a blue tone. And then
Ooh,
when it got
nice
to the
catch.
big ship was all green and stuff. And I thought that was kind of neat. How they gave those color choices.
Mhm.
It's probably just me reading into it, but I don't know.
This is the time to read into it.
I'm reading, but that's part of another reason why I really do enjoy this film is that like subtle things of like us trying to figure out how they made it. Like I remember the last time I thought about something like that was when I watched Birdman, and it's just like I miss like conversations like this of like trying to figure out technically how something is made and stuff. And
Well, and it doesn't feel like it, especially with the budget. It doesn't feel like it's Roger Deakins 1917. Like I'm gonna invent some new stuff and have the most expensive equipment. This is a different, to be able to accomplish some of the things that they did takes, with the budget. There's some interesting like, oh, how did they do that? Like
yeah,
the conversation's like a little bit different.
This one's just one man with two names and one dream.
Yeah. This is a quote from him. He's edited 15 years in commercial work, motion graphics, compositing, and effects. Sounds like me. And he said, I definitely was too close to the film. I thought I hadn't gotten what I needed. I didn't have enough coverage because of the budget. So that explains that one little shot. I got so close, I could no longer see the magic in it. But the filmmaker muscled through and rediscovered the movie during the scoring session with the composer. I thought this is going to be special again. So, like, that's interesting. That's the pains of making a
Yeah.
movie, I guess. I understand.
yeah.
That. That's how Steven Spielberg felt when he made Jaws. It's like,
Yeah,
what
not
the
everybody
hell?
understands. When you're sitting there at the edit dock, you don't always know what's going to happen, like with your footage.
Yeah, and if it's cost that much to make, you know what I mean? It's like I couldn't get coverage. Like, get this guy some money. He can make a film.
So listening
Yeah,
to that.
I agree.
By the way, Colin, do you know what his next movie's going to be? Did you look that up?
No. What's his next one?
Okay, so his next movie is a yet untitled film that is going to be a revenge thriller set in the honeybee industry.
All right, sweet.
Starring Nick
I'll
Cage.
definitely watch it.
Yeah, it's going to be like the Bee movie, except just if it was
I'm
like
out for revenge.
a West Wing walk and talk with bees and a honeycomb.
Oh my gosh.
You just stung me for the
Yeah,
last time.
see, I think the magic will go away for me if he makes another West Wing based type movie. Like that's what I liked is like if this stands alone and he does something a little bit different, and it doesn't connect to this movie, that might be kind of cool.
Give him a budget and give him another writer. I really think he can do something.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't.
So
There's some good ideas in this.
Agreed.
Yeah.
so Ben, what would you rate this movie?
Colin, don't be mad. 6 out of 10.
Oh,
but-
I'm not,
But an 8 out of 10 for working with nothing, making something out of nothing.
I'll just go next. I ranged from all the way from like a 5 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10. So I'm landing kind of in the middle. I'm also giving it a 6. I think there's, this to me, there's a lot to kind of like chew on, and it's really, interesting to talk about after the fact. So maybe it will have legs and kind of take on a additional life where you kind of think about it longer. which could, I guess, improve the rating. But for me, I feel like this is just like a proof point that this director is going to do really good things, or should be given, to your point, Ben, even more opportunities. And I thought the two lead actors, not Billy, but Everett and Faye actors are great, and I hope they get a bunch of new opportunities from this, because I thought for the script, however you feel about the overall structure of it, I feel like they delivered their lines with a believable chemistry between the two of them that I thought was really good. So
no, the acting was good. Yeah.
Aaron, what about you?
Well, I think we're going the satanic rating this week. I'm giving it a 6.2, man, because as we like to explain a lot, that 5 is our cutoff for what we think everybody should see this, and I think it's better than that. So I give it a solid 6. I enjoyed it.
All right, Colin.
I mean, for me, mine is an 8 out of 10. I really like this movie. Yeah, but I am very understanding of what you guys think and feel. Like, I think, like, if I gave a 10 out of 10 of a movie, it would be Birdman. Birdman is a 10 out of 10 film, and
Colin, we'll always have Birdman. We saw it before it got popular.
Oh yeah. Man, and when I saw it with Ben, it was like a freaking roller coaster.
Yeah, it was great.
I still haven't seen it. I want to see it now.
And I know that's like a side thing, but this movie, this falls into that creative space, kind of like a Ghost Story with Casey Affleck, where it was artistic, but this film, for me, just that whole feel of like, we don't even know what a UFO is. They don't even have the term UFO yet. They don't even know how to describe this. They think it's Russian equipment, and so it's yeah. I think I'm just nostalgic of the time period, all the technical stuff that was in it, and everything that we talked about. It's just really cool. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
All right. It has that je ne sais quoi.
And this is a kid show.
Colin, have you seen The Invisible Man?
I haven't seen the newest one. I haven't seen the newest one.
Okay. I'm curious, Ben and Aaron, which did you prefer, this or The Invisible Man?
I love Invisible Man.
I preferred this one, Fast of Night.
I
think I'd go Invisible Man, but I don't know. I thought it was close enough that I'd ask.
I think
I'll definitely check it out. Check it out. I've heard some really good things about it.
I loved Invisible Man. I watched it with my dad, and he loved it. He bought it on Amazon. You guys want to watch that?
Oh, by the way, major props for this movie being free on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Major props.
Major props.
I always like not having to spend $3.99.
Yeah,
that's right.
Screw film.
Imagine though if you could just watch movies for free though. I mean, that would if there was an entire site where you never had to pay for anything.
I wonder if they have a name, a name whose name we dare not speak.
Tubi,
until they pay.
Tubi, baby, Tubi.
Come on, Tubi, we love you. Are we gonna do a whole month of Tubi movies?
I don't
that
know.
The plan?
We've yet to even like we
did I just reveal too much?
We reference their name every week, but we don't actually review anything that's on their service.
We did Velocipaster.
Why don't we do
that's
that
true.
in September?
That's true. We'll do that next. Yeah, we'll kick us off. Anyway, Colin, even though we weren't our arbitrary number ratings didn't line up, I still very much enjoyed this movie and was glad you recommended it.
Yeah,
Colin, I did not. Awesome. Don't ever recommend things again.
Good call. You had the golden shovel this week.
That's right.
No, you did a good job.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Colin.
I know that.
Hey, thanks guys. Thanks guys.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Wesley. Because he liked this movie. He wanted me to see this movie too. Like last year, he showed me the trailer, that one spot. And I go, that looked really interesting. It was really cool. So I know that Wesley probably liked this movie.